Okay, welcome. We're live. Let me switch this to full screen. Yeah, that's good. So, welcome. We're gonna do a quick photo editing live stream. I kind of want to start doing a live stream earlier, but I fell asleep. So, we're gonna do it a little later now. It's 9 p.m. It's not too bad. So welcome, we're gonna do some more photo editing today. Is this a new one or a continuation? Well, it's a new stream, but we're gonna do the same thing as what we did last week. We're actually gonna edit some photos, so it's gonna be similar as what we did last week, but we're gonna do different photos. Yeah, I I just changed the title of the stream. So, yeah, I think we should just get decided to see which photo we can do today. So I've been into the city the last 2 days, shooting some new photos. We did this one last week, the one you're seeing right now. It's a big photo. Oh yeah, that was one of the panoramas, so it takes a little while to load. But turned out pretty alright. I think I want to do this one today, maybe. Looks like a nice shot. Or maybe this one. I really like this one as well. Yeah, I clicked on going live, and then I saw the title was still the title from the last stream, so I changed it quickly. But you might have got a notification thinking that I was gonna do the 80s drum and bass again, but that was just because the title was still the wrong one, still the old title. So yeah, I'm really feeling this one, by the way. Although this one is pretty nice as well, especially if we take the darker one into consideration, because we still have a little bit of detail here that we can try and get out. Not sure how that goes for this one. Yeah, see, there's not really much detail behind these windows. There's a lot of detail in this shot though, so we could definitely make this one pretty good. Okay, what's that doing? Why is it becoming brighter? That's strange. So scrolling up and down makes this brighter or interesting. Oh, it's actually jumping between the photos. So if you hover over here and then scroll, it's actually scrolling through your photos. Interesting. Never knew that before. Yeah, I think we're gonna do this one because we have all those windows, and I think we can do something nice with that. So, as you can see, it's 5 photos. I do this because you can see right here in this one, the windows are properly exposed, but all the foreground elements are way too dark. Like, if we are gonna boost that, we're gonna boost the noise, and that's not really what we want. So you've got the other ones, and we've got this really bright one, and that's just to take care of all this foreground detail. But we also want to have detail in the windows, right? So that one is already a bit better, but this one is much better. So the middle exposure though looks pretty alright. So let's see what we can do with this. I'm gonna merge these into an HDR. I'm gonna leave auto align checked because I think this was shot on a tripod. I'm pretty sure, but you never know. Sometimes there's a little movement in between the shots. Keeping auto align turned on, it will take care of any movement. Auto tone, I'm gonna leave that off because I don't want the computer to decide for me what it's gonna make the photo look like. If we turn on auto tone, see what it's gonna do. It's already taking care of some of the stuff for us, but I don't really like what it does. So usually I will not turn it on. Why not use NYX HDR? I got a very good reason for that. I used to use NYX Software HDR for my HDR processing, but it is not a 32-bit processing that is going on. So right now, let me explain. If I merge this, it is going to merge the photos. What we get out of this is going to be the unprocessed HDR photo. So that's this one. And as you can see, we already get more detail. It kind of looks like the center exposure right now. See? It's zoomed in a little bit. That's the movement in between the shots that it has removed. So it has zoomed, and so it has taken out a little bit of movement. But the two shots right here, the middle exposure and the combined HDR they look pretty similar, actually. And the thing is now though, this file is a DNG file. When you use NYX Software ARTFX, and we could do that actually and see what the difference is. If you combine your photos with NYX Software ARTFX, you're gonna get a TIFF file. Now a TIFF file, that TIFF file that you're gonna get is pretty much the processed HDR, and it's a 16-bit TIFF file. Now TIFF files are not lossless files, so you shoot in a RAW format, and as soon as you create a TIFF file, that TIFF file is not a lossless format anymore. So when you want to do a lot of editing to your photos, that's not ideal. When you're getting close to finishing your photo, then it's alright, you know, using a TIFF file is fine. Actually, a lot of times a TIFF file will not be a problem. But what I like about the Lightroom merge to HDR is that you get a DNG file, and that DNG file is actually a RAW file. So it is actually, because DNG stands for digital negative, so it's actually just a RAW file. But it's a combination of these 5 shots combined into one new RAW file. And this is actually now just a RAW file with a very big dynamic range. The TIFF file that you would get out of NYX Software HDR FX is not a RAW file anymore. So you get a little bit less options when you want to edit the photo. And I think I just get a bit more control with the Lightroom HDR, because now I can just simply keep on using all the Lightroom tools for processing this HDR, and I don't have to do anything in an external piece of software. Like I used to do that in the past, and the piece of software is great. NYX Software ARTFX Pro is great, but it just gives a different result, and I'm not sure if I like it more or less. Now let's just edit this photo really quickly. And can you guys see everything? Yes, you can. So we're just going to edit this photo really quickly, and then we're going to see what the difference would be if we use NYX Software ARTFX Pro. Just let's see what the difference is and what it looks like. So first thing I would do is turn on my lens profile corrections, which is going to take care of some of the distortion. You can see there's a little bit of barrel distortion in the lens actually. So we're just going to take that out. And I also wanna see if I can correct this perspective distortion, so you can see that the vertical lines here are not perfectly straight. I'm gonna try using the vertical mode here, and that did a pretty good job. It's not perfect, but it did a pretty good job. Now one thing that I noticed though is that this line is not horizontal either, and that is kind of bugging me. Like, the vertical lines need to be straight, but if we have a shot that is pretty much head-on, like this one, then these lines, the horizontal lines, should be straight as well. So we could try using the full mode here, and that is gonna try and take care of that. Now this table is not standing straight, so that line will probably not become straight. Let's see. Actually, Lightroom has not used that line. That's pretty interesting. So Lightroom looked at this photo and it has, well, said to itself, this table should not be straight. And that's pretty good because it's actually looking at these windows now, and those windows are becoming pretty straight. So yeah, that's pretty good. This line here at the top is not straight. Not sure if that is a problem. It looks pretty good right now, so let's just keep it like this. In the basic panel, I'm gonna bring the highlights down all the way, and that will reveal that detail in the windows here. So that's pretty much what we used these 5 exposures for. If we would have done this with the middle exposure, we probably would not get the same result. See, we get a little bit more detail now in the windows compared to with the middle exposure. And let's see what happens if we raise the shadows a bit. We can actually raise it very far. You can see it completely turns this image into almost an unusable one. I'm going to back it down a bit. And I'm also going to bring the exposure down a bit as well. I think that looks quite nice. Let's boost the contrast here. Let's take the whites. You can hold Alt, and then you can see when you are actually overexposing parts of your image. I never really want to do that, so I'll just eyeball it and then just check, do I like the effect or do I want to go down? I'm actually going to go down on this one. I like that little bit of an underexposed look on this one. I think that's a little bit better. Blacks, we can increase them or decrease them. I'm actually going to increase the blacks a little bit. Now, white balance. I think that looks about right. I'm gonna leave the tint alone, maybe a little bit less, so it's a little bit more to the green side. And you can see there's quite a bit of detail in this shot. Let's take the clarity. I'm gonna raise it ever so slightly, about +10. I don't really want to do more, because that'll make it, it will turn it into, yeah, see, it's just gonna look really harsh if we go up very far on the clarity. I don't really like what that does, so I really just go up ever so slightly on this photo. +10 looks about right. No music today. Nope, no music today, guys. Usually I bring the vibrance down. Actually, this shot could work in black and white as well. I still think the image is a little bit too bright. Might be because of those big ass windows, but let's darken this up a bit more. And let's raise those shadows. Let's darken it a bit more. And I mean, it's gonna get a bit too dark right now, but I'm gonna brighten certain parts up in a bit. I might want to bring those highlights back just a little bit. That looks about right. I'm going to reduce the vibrance ever so slightly here. And now for the tone curve. Let's go in here and I'm gonna load up my, let's see, which one are we gonna do? 5-point clip control. It's actually just a really simple preset. As you can see, it's just a simple preset, just creates 5 points here in the tone curve, and then we can use these to shape the look of the photo. So I might wanna just ever so slightly raise this. It will give the image a bit of a washed out look. I don't want to do too much of that, just a little bit. Let's see if we can shape this a bit. So usually I'll try and create a slight S-curve here, but this is very you know, very small changes here will have a huge result. As you can see, I'm just moving this a few percentages up or down, and the image just becomes darker and brighter. You can really ruin your image really quickly with this. So let's see what happens if we just raise the highlights here. That already makes a bit of a change. Kind of takes a little bit of the harshness out. Just makes it a little bit darker, which is kind of what I want. What are you shooting with? This photo right here, let's see, this was shot on the Canon 6D with a Sigma 24-35 f2 art lens. I used to shoot on a Canon 550D, which was my go-to camera for a long time, but I recently I upgraded at some point. I upgraded to a Canon 6D, which is pretty much now my main camera. It's a full frame Canon camera, so you cannot select more than 3-point curves. That is because you can create your own. Right now, we've changed the curve, right? So we now have a custom curve. As if you look right here, it says custom. If you now click here, all the way at the bottom, it will say save. So when I click that, I can actually save my own curve presets here. So you can just create your own. I can just save this one. It's gonna be slight fade plus clip control, or well, just let's do slight S curve, because that's what it is. So now I can just go in here and it'll appear here. So you can see I've got a few other ones. My default 5-point clip control, just gonna make sure that we have no clipped shadows and no clipped highlights. Just by raising this bottom point and lowering this top point, anything that clips will not be clipping now. I've got the other ones here. Clip controls, the same thing, but just with 3 points. Then I've got these ones, which have, right here, I've raised the blues 5%, so I'm actually only crushing the shadows in the blues, which gives the image a little bit of a blue look in the shadows. Can be nice. And I've got the same thing here for green, so it gives a little bit of a green fade. I've also got one here for the reds, to do that for the red color. Sometimes I want to do that. It can be nice on landscape shots or on city shots. Then we have the faded ones that I created. Those actually just raise the black point here. So as you can see, we're now at 5%. Also creates a slight S-curve, but it kind of fades the shadows and the highlights. And then I've got these two stronger ones, so we can give it a really faded look if we want to. Sometimes in city shots, portrait shots, that can look nice, but I don't really do much of those. So I think for this one, something like that looks pretty nice. For images like these really, you know, these abandoned places, I really want to have a lot of detail and a lot of contrast. I don't want to go overboard on the contrast, you know, I don't want to add too much contrast. I want to get this really high detail look on these kind of images. So, I can go into the camera calibration and see if I can change these colors a bit. Going to the cyan side actually separates the colors here a bit. And I do like what it's doing here. I'm not too sure about the blue in the windows, but I like what it's doing to all the wood here. It's making it a little bit warmer, which I quite like. I might want to try doing this with the HSL or the color tab. So, in the color tab, when we go to the blue channel, we can do the same thing here. So we can alter the color of that blue, but I don't really like the blue in the windows here. So we can use the saturation here and just decrease that, and I'm not going to decrease it all the way, but I'm going to take a good amount of that out. And we have the aquas here, which are also in the windows, so I'm going to decrease those as well. So that kind of takes out that blue of the windows. Which other color do we want? I probably want to take the orange and move this a little bit to the orange side. That's actually gonna affect the wood here and the table and all that stuff. That's nice. Let's see what the yellow does. So the yellow also affects the wood. I'm gonna bring this slightly more to the orange side as well. Now for the red. I'm actually gonna move this one down a bit, also towards the orange. So we're really just bringing all the warm colors. I'm bringing all those warmer colors towards a more orangey tint, a more orangey color, which is kind of like what I want. Then we have the green here. There's a little bit green here in the floor, and we have a little bit of green here. Let's see if we can make that a bit stronger. So I'm gonna make the greens a bit more towards the blue side, which is gonna make these greens pop a little bit more. And I'm gonna try increase the saturation here. Now it's also bringing up the green here in the windows, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing. I think that actually looks pretty nice. It gives it a bit more interest. We can try strengthen this green here with an adjustment brush later on. But I think this looks pretty nice. I don't want to go up too much towards the blue on the green. I'm actually going to brighten this a bit as well. So decreasing the reds in saturation actually takes care of this door. It's getting a little bit too bright. As you can see, it's getting a bit bright in terms of the red color, compared to the rest of the image at least. So I'm just going to back that down a little bit, so it's a little bit more towards the color of the wood here. Now I can check, do I want to strengthen any of the other colors? Maybe a little bit more yellow. Now these purple and magenta tones, there's not really much of those in the photo, but I'm gonna reduce the saturation of those just in case. So this has done quite a bit to the image actually. Now let's go into the basic tab again and let's decrease that vibrance a little bit more. And now let's go into the camera calibration and let's see if we can actually strengthen this effect. So I'm gonna go into this hue slider and just gonna bring the blue ones a little bit more towards the cyan side. We have taken out quite a bit of cyan before in the previous step, so now we can bring this a little bit further towards here and we'll actually alter the color a bit. I'm not gonna go too far, just a little bit. The green, I'm actually gonna bring this up a bit as well. This one is gonna go down a bit. I'm probably just gonna leave this alone. Let's go into the detail tab. Let's add some sharpening. So I'm gonna mask that out. Anything that's white is being sharpened. So I'm just holding the Alt key on my keyboard and I'm dragging the masking slider here. Anything that's white will be sharpened. Anything that's black will not be sharpened. So that looks about right. Do want to do some noise reduction. There's not really any noise in here, so I don't really think we should do any noise reduction. The old teal and coral. It looks a little bit teal and a little bit red brownish, if you ask me. It's nice. It's a nice combination, actually. I think it's a nice brownish color now. Better than what it was before. Now I can go in here and I can actually change with the white balance. I can play with the white balance too, kind of like get a better mix between the two. I do want to keep a little bit of that blue in the windows, so I'm going a bit more towards the blue side. I don't want to go too much to the red side. That's just going to make it look, I don't know, like a nuclear bomb has exploded outside right now and where there's just a gigantic fireball right here. I want to go a bit more towards here. So I want to keep that contrast between the reds and the blues and greens there. Maybe we've gone a little bit too far on the reds actually. Let's take some saturation out of the oranges maybe. Let's go back into the camera calibration. Let's take the blue and yeah, bring that up a bit. Oh, I'm actually gonna decrease the reds here. That does a great job. I don't really think I want to do split toning. Maybe I want to add a little bit of blues to the shadows. That can sometimes be nice. Just a little bit of blue. I don't really like what it's doing on this image. Just adding a little bit of green here. I do like it, but it looks as if the whole image has a little bit of a purple tone. Let's bring this a little bit towards the green side. Actually, with the green could be nice as well. Just gonna do very slight amount. Yeah, just a really tiny little bit. Looks better, colder, suits the whole run-down rustic vibe. I'll just go for quite a desaturated look on this one. I want to apply a little bit of a vignette now. I think I want to do the vignette. Yeah, let's just do it here. I'm going to go down quite far. And then play with the roundness. Let's change the feather. Yeah, let's do that up all the way. Let's bring those highlights back. And now I'm going to see where I want my midpoint. I think about here is good. And then I'm going to bring that amount back. Yeah, I like what that does. So I can go in here and I can just check and see. Let's say I want to have a little bit more of a desaturated look here. I can desaturate these colors a little bit more. I'm just playing around with the actual colors here, just trying to find the right balance. These aren't really doing much, so there's not really much of that color in here. Let's take the radial filter. Let's give it about half a stop of exposure here. And now I'm just going to see if I can brighten some parts up. So I want to put some interest right here in the foreground. I'm just going to make this part a bit brighter. Like so. So that already made a huge change. Gave a lot more interest to that foreground. Is this Lightroom? Yes, it is. This is Photoshop Lightroom that you're looking at. So now we can play around with this, see if we can get a better combination out of it. I do like the little bit of green in here. And I can take one of these filters and I can just darken down the side here. And let's do the same thing over here. Let's darken that as well. It's also going to darken those highlights, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise the highlights just a little bit so those are not going to be darkened. That kind of like pulls you into the center of the image even more. Maybe I want to brighten up this part here. Just add a little bit of brightness on that thing because it's looking quite interesting with the texture on it. Maybe increase the clarity a tiny little bit. I want to see if I can increase the clarity here as well. Yeah, see, that's really gonna bring out the detail. So I might want to do that just across this entire part. Just raising the clarity a little bit. Not too much, just a little bit. I'm not too sure about the green color here. So that's coming from the split toning. I think without the split toning it looks better. But I would say this image looks pretty good right now. It's not the best shot, but I've had worse shots, to be honest. It's a little bit faded in the shadows though. I'm usually not that big of a fan of fading the shadows that much. Although on this shot I think it actually looks nice. It's a hard one. I don't really do that a lot. I'm not a big fan of fading your shadows like that. Or it's actually called crushing the shadows, I guess. Not that big of a fan of it, because it kind of like gives your entire image the washed out look. But for certain images, and I think this is one of those, it can actually look pretty nice. I think we might be able to increase the contrast here. And let's raise the blacks a little bit. I'm far from photography, but it's damn interesting to watch. Okay, that's nice. I think this image looks pretty alright. I'm not too big of a fan of the image, I would say. I might have to try it again someday, see if I can make a better edit. But I think it looks better than the initial image. This is the actual image first. Now, I do want to check out if we get a better image if we use the Nik Software ARTFX Pro. So I'm gonna take all those images again and I'm gonna export them to Google ARTFX Pro. Just that, and we're just gonna try and do the same thing with Nik Software ARTFX Pro and see if we get a better image. Sometimes that will just work better. I usually just try out both tools. If I'm not happy with the first Lightroom edit, I usually will just go into Nik Software and try using that one and see if it actually makes it better. So That's why I think it's good to have multiple tools that do the same thing. You don't always want to have, you don't always want to do, you know, the same processing. So I think it is actually loaded up already. Yeah. Can you guys see this? Yeah, you guys can. So this is Nick Software ARTFX Pro. We're now in the merge dialog here. So again, you get this window here where you can go through the image and just see how it looks. So this will not change anything on the actual image. It's just the brightness of the preview window here, and you can see the different exposures. You can see the different exposure values, and here you can change your alignment. You can reduce chromatic aberration if there's anything. I'm not going to touch any of this. I'm just going to click create HDR, and we'll just have to wait for that. So it's aligning the exposures right now, and it's gonna give us something similar as to what we had before. So let's just wait for that to merge. So there you have it. First thing to notice right off the bat is that this image looks very bright compared to the other one that we had in Lightroom. That is just ARTFX. It just makes your shot very bright to begin with. I do like this bright look though. Right here at the left you've got your presets. So there's a lot of presets, and sometimes they can actually look pretty damn nice. Like that actually looks pretty good if you ask me. Now don't mind, the lines here are not straight right now because we haven't done that yet. We have to do that after we've created the HDR. But you can look through here and it can actually create some pretty gritty results that I don't really like always, but you can see you can get different results out of this. So some of these are really crazy, like I would probably never do that. That looks really weird. That kind of looks nice. These dramatic ones are pretty good, except that the whites are very bright. I think if you tone down those whites, it can definitely make it better. I really like the look of these ones. Maybe I'll actually use this on this photo. I really like that gritty look that we get from it. But I think we're gonna do it all manually. We can see if there's any of these that looks a little bit to what I would want to have. But I think most of these presets are just way over the top. I do like these, let's see. I like this one called Sinister. Gives a nice look. And this one called Dramatic, but it's way too bright on the whites. So let's go to the first one called Default. And let's just do it ourselves. Right here at the right side, you've got all your controls. So let me just open those up. So first thing we can do, you can use this tone compression, and that is gonna, well, as you can see, it's going to compress the dynamic range of the image. Now, I see a lot of people going up to 100% on this, but as you can see, that looks really horrible. So I usually just stay away from this a lot, and usually I'll just go up a little bit so that we get a bit more detail in the shadow areas. It brightens up this roof here, it brightens up this section here in the bottom right. Let me zoom in a bit. So it'll increase that a bit here. You can see there's a little bit of a smudge here on the lens. So I probably not want to make this bottom right area that bright. I probably want to make this a bit darker so that smudge is a little bit hidden. Normally I would try and remove stuff like this, but right now this smudge is in a position where it would be very hard to remove it. So because this is in a shadow area, I think we can just make this area darker to just get rid of that smudge. I think that's a good option. Now, method strength, Method strength is actually going to be the strength of the HDR. So if I can see, if you can bring it up to 100, it's going to make everything really crispy and really sharp. But you might also be able to see that the edges get a little bit of a glow around them. Now this is dust, so that is okay, but it gets a little bit of a glow around some of the edges. You can see it a little bit here. You can see around this edge, it's just a little bit brighter around the edge. That's just the effect of this. You can see it right here as well. Just gets this weird brighter glow. And if we back down a bit, it gets a little bit less. I do want to add quite a bit of that method strength because it brings out a lot of the detail. It brings out a lot of the sharpness. So I like that. Now we can try bringing that exposure down a bit. Let's decrease the highlights. Not that much though, just a little bit. Actually, I think I'm gonna start off that preset. Let's just try that. Let's try starting with this preset right here, which is way too over the top. Oh yeah, we've got the HDR method. Sorry, I haven't used this software for a long time, so I know it again. You've got your tone compression here, so you can bring that up all the way, and you can see what it does. But you've got this drop-down menu right here that I forgot about just now. This is your HDR method, and this will actually change the way the HDR looks. So right now I've bumped the tone compression up to 100%, so you can see the effect pretty clearly. You can see what it does. It makes the image look really weird. And now we can use these different sliders here. So you've got depth. So you can see what that does. Usually I'll keep this one on normal. I think that just looks the best. And then you've got this. This is your detail. So you can go to soft, which gives the image a soft look, which is to be expected. Realistic. Usually I'll use that. If we go up to accentuated, you can see it gets these really gritty, it gets that really gritty look, pretty much right here. So I want to see if that preset, I think it's actually using, yeah, see it's going to grungy here. That's going to give it that really grungy look. I want to see what happens if I back this down to realistic. And now I want to try and take these highlights, and let's take those highlights down. Let's go for the tone compression. Let's bring that up a bit. Yeah, so this is a difficult one. I do like the effect of this. Actually, I like this one a lot. This looks pretty cool. I still think it's a bit too much though. Just bringing the highlights down a bit here. I'm gonna raise the shadows. I'm gonna raise the blacks all the way. I can decrease the whites. That will get rid of a lot of that harsh look here. I'm gonna go to realistic as well on the detail, because you can see right now the detail is on soft. I'm zooming out, by the way, because I think this is a little bit too big right now. I have to look from left to right, and when I zoom out I get a bit more of an overall view of the full image. So, but I do think this looks pretty nice. It's really gritty, really a little bit too over the top actually, but okay, that's not good at all. It's still a little bit too over the top if you ask me, but I like how it looks when we zoomed out a bit. So I'm gonna bring that exposure down. So you can just see that when I change one of these settings, it just completely changes the look of the image. I'm gonna keep that on realistic. Let's try moving this up to normal. That doesn't look like it's doing anything, to be honest. Let's just keep that at normal. So it's bringing the saturation down a lot. I want to do that as well. I quite like that, so I'm gonna bring that down a lot as well. I can play with the temperature though. I want to make it a little bit cooler, but not too much. Now, the funny thing about this temperature slider is that this temperature slider is actually it's actually adding color after you've decreased the saturation. So normally the temperature and the white balance will be applied before the saturation. So when you bring the saturation down a lot, it will affect, well, it will take out all the color. But right now this slider is actually after this saturation slider. So when we decrease the saturation here to turn this into black and white, we could then add blue to it, or we could add yellow to it. I think that's a nice thing, but I don't want to do that here. I just want to keep this slightly desaturated. A little bit more blue. Although I think it's a bit too blue. Yeah, I guess that looks nice. So here I'm gonna add a little bit of the vignette. Right now I'm adding the vignette in... It's a little bit too strong, I think. Let's move that to -10. Looks a little bit better. So it's adding this curve. I do like this one, the dark contrast one. So we can play around with this. I can darken this up a bit to give it a more darker look. I think that actually looks pretty good. Now we can do the same thing as we did in Lightroom. We can use this selective adjustment here, and I can just make a point right here. I can change the size, Let's say I want to make this section a bit brighter. And note that it's only affecting the table pretty much. I should be able to see the mask, I think. Yeah. See, so everything that's white, it's affecting. So where I place this is actually going to change what it's going to brighten up. So if I want to brighten up this table, let's say the edge of the table, I should be putting it right here on the edge. And as you can see, it will start brightening up those sections. So now I should be able to brighten up this edge of the table, and especially these little foots underneath the table. So let's see what happens if we increase the exposure now. See, it's actually just mostly affecting that. So I can just brighten that up a bit, because it was getting a little bit dark. See, we're just adding a little bit of brightness there. I might want to add a little bit more brightness here in the center, but we can do that with Lightroom. I do like the way this image looks right now. I'm pretty happy with it, to be honest. Let's see, do we want to do a little bit more? I can add a bit of structure to certain areas. The structure will bring out a lot of detail and a lot of texture. So I usually put those in areas where there already is quite a bit of texture. For instance, on this table right here, I can bring up the structure a bit. Not too much though. And let's raise the exposure a bit as well, because I want to brighten this table up a bit. Not going to do too much, just a little bit. And I'm going to duplicate this one. So how do we duplicate this? Yeah, holding Alt, you can create a duplicate, and I'm just going to drop these on pretty much the entire table, just to brighten that up a bit. I think this looks pretty good. I don't really think we should do that much more to it. So let's just click Save. And that's going to save the image. And that is going to bring us back into Lightroom. And it'll bring this image back into Lightroom as well. So right here, we've got the image. Let me just bring it down here. So now we can actually look at the before and after. Before I'm going to do that though, I'm going to use the transform here. And I'm gonna set this to vertical. Let's try full. So that should be looking about the same as the other photo now. So this is the one in Nick's software ARTFX Pro. And this is the one we did in Lightroom. See how they look different? This one has a bit more of a natural color. This one looks a bit more greenish. I do like the look, but I think the detail in this one is better. It's a slightly different one in terms of perspective though. The perspective has slightly changed, but I don't really think that's a bad thing. What do you guys think? Which one do you think is better? I do like this one. It has a lot of detail, which is great. Although the colors in this one do look pretty interesting. It gives it a bit of a gloomy look with the green in the shadows. But I think both can definitely work. So this was actually a textile factory that I've been to. I'm not too sure which one of these is better. Let's try adding a bit more brightness here in the center. The Lightroom one is better mood. Yeah, I do agree with that. Let's see if I can copy settings. Let's see. I want to take the split toning here. I want to take the color. And I'm going to take the calibration here. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it on top of this one, and let's see what that does. Let's first make a virtual copy so that we don't destroy the photo. And I'm going to paste these settings onto this photo. Yeah, that doesn't really do the same thing, so it just makes it very decreased, very desaturated. Not really what we want. So let's just get rid of the virtual copy. I do like the green colors here in the window, but I like the detail in this shot either. But yeah, I really like this one. It definitely looks nice with the green in the windows. You might want to give it a slight crop here, just so that we can get rid of that edge here at the right side. I would rather have it be pretty much here, right in that window, so that we don't have that slight edge along the side of the photo. I think that looks a bit better. Let's see how that goes here. Yeah, here it goes a little bit better. We've got a little bit more of that side window here. Yeah, I prefer the Lightroom edited version, to be honest. I just like the more gloomy look that we get. And I mean, the amount of detail is still pretty good. We could always put this into color effects and try and get some more detail out of it that way. But I do think this looks pretty nice. This one is not really faded on the tone curve, so I mean, adding the slight S-curve here already makes a big change. Makes it look a bit more like the other one. Although we have the more green here in the windows, which I quite like. ARTFX, have you thought of animation? I had a few animating classes in art school and I absolutely hated it. So no, I'm not going to do animation. It's too much work for too little end result, if you ask me. Plus, I was just, no, I really was not liking the software. When I was in art school, we did a lot of Adobe Flash. We did a lot of which program did we use? We did a 3D modeling program, 3D Studio Max, and we did some other stuff like After Effects and stuff like that. And I do like it, but seeing I already do so much things, I really don't want to get into another one of these things, and like animating, for instance. No, I really don't want to get into it. I've got too much stuff on my hands already to do, so. I do like this one, so I'm gonna flag that, so I know that I like this image. Let's go into the library, and let's do another shot. So, I went into the city today and yesterday to shoot some photos, and I've also got some other photos. So, what do you guys want me to do? We can do a couple of city shots that I took yesterday and today. I also went out a few days ago in the rain during the evening, so we could do a couple of city shots if you guys want. or we could go and do a landscape photo. I'm not sure if I have any good landscape photos in here, but we'll see. So yeah, what do you guys want? These are just some reference images, by the way. I was looking up some photos of another guy, and he makes really cool photos. It's definitely a style that I want to do, but Rotterdam is not good for this kind of shots. Like, this style only fits these really high detail street shots. Like, it looks really nice, but Rotterdam is way too little advertisements and stuff like that to actually give me this look. I can get close, but it's not gonna be the same. So yeah, let me guys know, what do you guys want to see? Landscape photos, or do you guys want to see some city shots, or maybe you guys just want to see some more abandoned places? Let me know. So as you can see, these are all the shots from the textile factory. Some interesting shots in here. I really like this one, by the way. Really cool with all this equipment that they've got going on there. It was quite funny to actually find out that they had a lot of this old equipment still around there. Wasn't expecting that, to be honest. Like, absolutely beautiful with all these. You can see all the threads. This is actually just these are just machines that they use to create the textile with, which is pretty. You can see all these big old vintage machines out here. I didn't even knew those were there when I went inside. And then we reached this top floor and we were just like, whoa, that's absolutely crazy. Yeah, so I did some city shots. We can do a couple of city shots. Let's see. This is the shots that I made today. I went outside into the city today to make some shots like this. As you can see, the subway is blurry because it's coming into the station. It looks interesting though. Let's try out this one. It's gonna be easy to make all these shots the same, by the way, because they're just the same exposure, just a different position for the train. So we can just edit one of these and then just synchronize all the settings across all these photos so that we can simply just decide which one is the best. I kinda like this one where the train is, you can actually see a bit of the front of the train. It's not sharp, actually. That's too bad. I was using I was not using a tripod today, so let's see if any of these is a little bit sharper. Yeah, so that looks better. I would say that's usable. I guess that's nice too, with the subway train right there. Let's just try and edit this one. This one is definitely a bit sharper. So, first thing to do would be... lens correction. So this is shot on the 24mm, so this is the Sigma 24 to 35 as well. It's my favorite lens. It's the one I use pretty much all the time. I have a few shots in here today that I shot with the Samyang 14mm, which is a pretty cheap wide-angle lens, but it's the only wide-angle lens that I own for my full-frame camera, so I took that with me today, so I made some wide-angle shots as well. Or actually, I should say ultra-wide-angle, because this is already a wide-angle. Let's go into the basic tab. Now, I want to do a pretty high-contrast look on these images, I think. So let's start by bringing down the highlights. And let's raise the shadows so we can really bring as much detail out as possible. So I'm going to increase the contrast quite a bit here. Might want to increase it more later on. What program is this? This is called Adobe Lightroom. So here we can play with the white balance. Do we want to have a more yellow look or a more blue look? I think we're going to go slightly towards the blue side. We can also try using this eyedropper, because these tiles are pretty much white anyway, so I can just click that and see what it does. Looks alright. We can try using maybe a different section. Let's try out what happens if we click here. I like that a little bit more. Let's just use that. So, clarity. I don't want to increase the clarity too much here. Maybe even bring it down a bit. I'm gonna leave vibrance and saturation alone for now. Let's fade this. Let's see how that looks. I probably want to add quite a bit of contrast to this. I'm just gonna use my regular clip control preset. It's not really doing anything right now. It's just taking care of the clip shadows and highlights. I first want to focus on the HSL tab, so I want to try and decrease some of these colors. And I might want to check if I want to separate the colors a little bit. So we can quickly check that in here. So I can just move these sliders a bit, see if that makes a interesting change. Bring it slightly to the left. So it's really making those doors redder. Let's go into the HSL tab and let's bring that red down a bit again, because it's becoming a bit too red if you ask me. Let's bring that down a bit. I'm gonna try and decrease a lot of the color. I'm not sure if I like those bright parts there at the top. Let's see if we can make that a bit darker over there. Let's see, if we press vertical here, that's gonna straighten out most of the image. Actually, I think that doesn't look too bad. Although the tiles here at the bottom are not straight, which is kind of bugging me right now. So, actually, the entire image is not straight. But now it is. Now it's relatively straight. Let's try and put a little bit more light right on here. Just like that. I kind of wish there was a little bit more of a complementary color between these photos actually. Let's see what happens if we crop this a little bit. I actually think that's a little bit better. Just gets rid of a bit of this, all that junk at the top, which we don't really need. Gives it an interesting look. Now for the tone curve, we can try playing around with this. I can just try making this a bit darker, see if I like that. Let's say I want to darken the shadows a bit and I want to increase the rest. Kind of like create an S-curve here. Maybe just crush the highlights a bit, and let's try not too sure about that. So one thing we can always try is turning this into black and white. Not really a big fan of that. I'll keep this in color. I'm actually not a big fan of this image, to be honest. I wanted to have this image a little bit more... I think it would have been better if I shot this image a little bit further to the front, so that we would have, like, I don't know, maybe this in the frame. and we wouldn't get this staircase. Maybe we'd just get that staircase behind it. If I would have went a little bit more to the front, I think we would have had a little bit of a better image. But that's fine. I can always go back, you know, I can always go back here and try and shoot the image again. But I think that would have made the image a little bit better. But it's not a bad shot. Let's just, let's select all these photos actually. Just gonna select all of those and I'm gonna press sync. I'm gonna hit check all. I'm just gonna synchronize all of these photos. So now it's gonna apply the same settings to all of these photos, and I can just go through them and see which one I like most. So this one is pretty cool because we can see there's a guy standing there. Although I think, yeah, this one is not sharp. Next time I'm gonna take my tripod again. I do love that we can still see that there are actually people there. And this one is pretty sharp. So I might want to use this image. I like that with the people there. So I'm gonna flag this one. See, same thing again here. We can see people in there. That's nice. Is it sharp? It's clearly sharp. I've shot this at, let's see, 1/125th of a second. So I'm shooting on 24mm. Your general rule would be, if you want to shoot handheld, you would want to keep your shutter speed above the focal length of your lens. So I'm shooting at 24mm. My shutter speed right now is a 25th of a second. So that is going to mean that I will be able to shoot this photo handheld. I might get a few blurry shots, but just pay attention when you make the actual photo. Breathe out and then stop breathing as soon as you click the photo so that you don't move. And if you are, if you keep that rule in mind, so let's say on 24mm you wanna do like a 25th of a second. If you are on 50mm, you want to do a 50th of a second. So basically you want to take the focal length of your lens and you don't want to go any slower than that. So if you're shooting on 24mm, you probably don't want to do a 10th of a second, because that'll probably give you motion blur. Of course, if you're gonna go down like, I don't know, on let's say a 12mm lens, which is really wide. If you're gonna shoot on 12 or 1/10 of a second, which is like the closest to 12mm, so 1/10 of a second is probably gonna be too slow to actually handheld. So at some point it's not gonna work anymore, because then it's just the shutter speed is just gonna be too slow. You cannot hold your hand that still. But on 24mm you can get away with about a 25th of a second without getting too much motion blur. I mean, you're still getting a little bit. Like, this could be sharper if I had shot this on a tripod, but it's good enough. Like, you don't always need to have crisp, sharp images. I would say this is good enough for an image like this. It's not too bad. See, we have quite a bit of sharpness here. It's not like it's really blurry like this other one. This one clearly has been moved. You can see it right here at the top. You can see it's just completely unsharp. And that one just looks a lot sharper. So I do like this one as well because we have a lot of people here, even more than in this one. So let's save that one as well. Got some more people here. Is this one sharp? This one is a little bit moved again. That one is sharp. So I could use any of these, to be honest. That one is relatively sharp. This one looks pretty sharp, yeah. I might say that this is actually the sharpest one so far. And we have people in it, so that's nice. That one is moved. That one is relatively sharp. Again, I like that we have the text here, which is blurry, but I like that we have that here. That one is moved, so we're not going to use that one. That one is fine. We can see a slight bit of the front of the train here now, so I hope that any of these is actually sharp. See, this one is not sharp, which is a pain in the ass, because I really like this. I really love how this turned out, with a little bit of motion blur here. It actually looks really dope, but yeah, it's just not sharp, so that's fucked. But I'm just gonna give this one a color label. Let's do it yellow. Maybe I'll be able to use it, maybe not. I don't think I'll be able to use it. I think it's too blurry, especially here at the top. You can just see that we've lost quite a bit of detail, and that's not really what I want. Now, my question though is, this one looks very sharp, and we still have the same effect here. So, yeah, I think this one is good as well. You can merge them in Photoshop, right? Yes, I can. I could. But that's not going to take care of the sharpness. Probably. Although, yeah, we could probably, yeah, that's actually a really good idea. We could take the train of this one that has this really interesting front part and merge it with one of these sharper images. That could be something we could do. That's actually a really good idea. We will have to do some Photoshop work for that though, because we also have to take care of that highlight right here at the station, at the platform. That highlight is going to be in the position where the train is, so so it would be wise to just take any one of these where there's no highlight on the platform. That would probably be the best thing to do. Let's try, actually. This one is pretty sharp, and this one looks about, and that one is the blurry one, yeah. I'm gonna load up Photoshop. Let's start Photoshop up. YouTube is having a lot of issues today, but this is working for me. Again? Is YouTube again going weird? Oh no, the stream looks pretty good for me right now. Stream looks pretty alright for me. I don't see any issues with the stream. Maybe I don't know, maybe YouTube is just having a little bit of a weird time again. So Photoshop has opened up. Let's load up these photos. Now, Chris is saying you can use 3 shots for that to take care of the highlights if you can't find 3 too. Oh, it's not just me, it's a lot of channels. Okay, well then it's probably just YouTube or maybe your connection or anything like that. Well, glad that you're on Twitch then, because I usually just stream on both Twitch and YouTube. Because that's just easier, and it makes me reach the most amount of people. So, I want to open these 2 photos in Photoshop. So I'm gonna right-click, edit in, and I'm gonna say open as layers in Photoshop. So that's going to, well, it's going to give me this window. Not sure why, but I'm just going to click open anyway, because that's what we want to do. So now we get the two photos inside Adobe Photoshop. Let's just give that a little moment. It's going to load up both of our images. I don't need that, and I don't need this. So now we have our two images, and I want to first start by aligning them. So if I'm right, you can select both layers, and then you can go in here. Let's see. Somewhere in here you should be able to align your images. Let's see where that is. Align? No, that's not it. Let's see. Yeah, that's not it. Edit. Oh, right here. Auto align layers. So because this was shot handheld, you can see if I turn this one off, you can just see that the image is rotating slightly. So I want to align these layers, and we can actually do that manually, or we can just have Photoshop take care of that. So right here, I'm not sure if you can see that. Let me do that. No, actually, let me do that so that you can see the full screen. So right here, both layers are selected now. I can do edit, and then right here you've got auto align layers. I'm just gonna click that, and it's gonna give us this window. Usually I'll just leave this on auto. I think that's pretty good. It's just gonna do what Photoshop thinks is the best way of aligning these. Now, the difference between these photos is very, very small. So I don't even think we have to do a lot of. It doesn't even have to do that much. So we can just hit OK, and it'll briefly do that, and you can see that it has now done that. So let's see. That's much better. Much better, actually. So I'm gonna slightly crop this now, because we have a little bit of a weird edge. So I'm just gonna crop that out. And I'm using the latest Photoshop, which has the really nice new guidelines and stuff like that. It actually snaps to everything, which is very good. So that looks alright. I am gonna take out that little bit here at the right side. So I'm just gonna crop this a little bit more. I want to make sure that I crop it in a 2:3 ratio. So I'm just gonna crop it like that. Crop. So now we need to put this train inside this one. Shouldn't be too hard. Although we might want to use another photo where we have no train, if I have one. Let's see. See, I actually have this one. It's not the same angle. That's too bad. So I probably want to take one where we have a little bit more of the top here. As you can see, you've got this part here. And in the one that we have in Photoshop, we need that part, and I don't want to take it from this photo because this part is not sharp. So I want to see if I have a photo where we actually have this part sharp. Let's see if we have that one. So that one is sharp, and we have that part of the roof here. So I'm actually gonna take this one and that one, and let's just close this down. Let's do this again with 3 photos. Edit in, open as layers in Photoshop. Open anyway. Okay, let's wait. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to select the layers, edit, auto align layers, hit OK, and just wait. Damn. Anyway, yeah, now we should crop it. So I'm gonna crop this. And it should pretty much snap into place. If it doesn't, then you can just zoom in a little bit and just do it like that. So I don't want to crop too much because we've already cropped this image. And I don't want to crop it too much more. Now this looks pretty alright. So let's crop this. And we don't have any edges, so that looks good. So now, let's see, which one should we use for the base image? So this is, yeah, this is the unsharp one. So I'm gonna place that one at the top. And I'm gonna rename this train. That's where we're gonna take the train from. The bottom one is the one without the highlight. So that is gonna be our station, so that's going to be the actual train station. And then this middle one is where we're going to take a little part of that ceiling, so we're going to use that one as well. Now let's start by taking the train one, and I'm going to give this one a layer mask, and I'm going to invert the mask. So let's just invert this mask here. And now what I want to do is I want to make a selection around this train to kind of like try and remove it. So I'm going to try to do this selection as good as possible. So let's go right along the edge here. Just like that, should be good. So now I can go in here and I can say, for instance, I want the feather here to be 5 pixels. That's gonna give it a little bit of an unsharp edge to the mask. And now I should be able to fill this mask with a color. So I'm just gonna take white, and that pretty much did the job. So now I want to see I'm going to create a layer mask on the ceiling one as well. And on this one, I'm going to put this one above the other one. I'm going to use the, let's see, I'm just going to use a brush. let's zoom in quite a bit on the top here. I'm gonna make this brush quite a bit smaller. I'm just gonna paint with white on the mask here. So I'm just gonna paint here. And I should put my opacity at 100. I'm just gonna paint here. I don't want to paint too close to the train, because we don't want to remove the train itself. I just want to make this edge sharper here. It's becoming a little bit darker here as well, so you might have to fix that. You can see if we go too far here, we can actually start removing the train, which is not what I want. So go back into the black one and just bring that back. I went a little bit too far. So now that little bit of ceiling there is also sharp. I want to check if we don't have any weird edges going on here at the bottom. It looks like we do have a little bit of an edge here. See that little edge? That is probably... I think it's actually part of the train. Let's see if we can remove that actually. Let's just try and do this. Take black. Let's fill this with black. Let's see if that has changed it. I don't really mind that line over there. It's a little bit weird, if you ask me. I do think it's better when that line is gone, because it's not here, so... Let's see. I'm gonna take a very small brush. I'm gonna zoom in quite a bit here. I think it's actually part of the subway train itself, but I don't really like that line. It's kind of like, it looks a little bit weird, so let's see. If we take... should we take black? Yeah. So I can remove it here. That will create a black line, which is also not ideal. That's interesting. Am I painting in the wrong layer? What is it? Yeah, it looks like a little metal strip somewhere, but it's kind of bugging me. Just that really, it's just a really thin blue line. Like, I think it's better like here. It's you don't see the line, right? It's not the station. It's not the station. It's probably on the train itself. But it just looks a little weird. But we can probably take part of this. let's try with this. So I'm gonna take white. No, that is not gonna work. I should paint in the mask. Okay. We should be able to bring the highlight back as well. That might actually just take care of it, because the highlight is right there as well. Yeah, I do think I know what it is. Can I turn the mask off? Yeah. See? It's that highlight. It's this highlight right here. That is what we're seeing. So we should actually bring that highlight back. And actually, see the little bit of red glow right here on the station? It's right where the doors are. See, it doesn't match. So we should be taking more of this image actually. I'm gonna take a white brush, and on the mask I'm actually gonna paint right here. And I'm gonna paint right here under the door. So those parts of the image will be slightly blurry, but I don't mind. I'm also gonna paint right here to bring that highlight back. That's also gonna get rid of that little line, which is great. And now what I want to do is I want to take a black brush, and now I want to remove the red right here. Now I'm going too far here, so I'm actually going to make a selection so that I'm not going to go over the actual train. And let's just make that quite large, like so. Let's do about that. And now let's take the brush again on a black brush, and I'm just going to remove the red from here. Wait, we should probably do that in this one. So yeah, white, yeah, with white. On the mask. I kinda want to sample from the bottom image. I'm gonna make a duplicate of this image. I'm gonna put it above the train layer, and I'm gonna give it a layer mask. Let me save this selection. Select. Now I can make a layer mask for this. Invert the layer mask so that we don't see it. And now I can load up my selection again. So now we have the same selection again. And now I can paint where I don't want to have that red. So I want to remove the red here. It actually doesn't look like it's removing it. Actually, I can just take it from this one. That actually seems to work much better. Just do that. And it should be removed right here. Take a little black. Yeah, the headlamp glare definitely made a change. I'm just trying to get rid of this red section right here because it should not be red right there. We're getting a little bit of a red glow on the platform, which should be right underneath this door, which it is, but it's also right here. So I'm kind of like trying to get rid of that. So we should be able to sample it from this image actually. Yeah. Under that layer mask, we don't get that thing. So, this is the train layer. So yeah, if I paint right here, yeah, there you go. Now it's gone. That's much better. So I can actually delete this layer and bring the ceiling layer back. Now we do get a little bit of a darker look right here on the ceiling. So I want to go in here and I'm just going to take the opacity of the brush down so that I can paint less strongly on this. And I'm going to take a black brush, going to go on the mask, and I'm just going to paint a little bit here just to even out that transition here. Maybe go into a white brush again and just gently stamp across that transition so that it's not really that clear of an edge. I mean, it's a little bit darker over here, but that could also be part of the vignette. So I would say that's pretty good. We've taken this image, which looked sharp, and we had an unsharp other image where the train looked much better. And yeah, I actually don't even think I have to do this last layer. I don't even think that's an issue, so let's just get rid of that. I think this is just pretty much all we have to do. So now I can save this image. So let's save it, and it's going to save it as a TIFF file, which if we go back into Lightroom, we should be able to see our file here somewhere. Is that the TIFF file? No, it's not. Oh, it's actually the one that's selected. So I'm gonna make this one a color so that I know this one is the one we edited. I mean, this looks pretty good, I would say. I can try adding a bit of a vignette maybe, and now we could actually, you know, finish the edit. So let's say I wanna darken the floor here a little bit. Maybe I wanna darken the top here a bit. Maybe just a little bit. Do I want to add a vignette? Let's see. I guess that's good enough. So, that's another image done. Let's see, I've had some more shots from today. How late is it? It's 11 o'clock. Let's see. Let's see, what else do we have? Blurry cyclist. Now, it was raining outside today, so as you can see, some of these shots have raindrops on the lens. It's a little bit of pain in the ass, but yeah, you can see them right here and there. This one would be easy to fix. We can just clone a part here and just, you know, just paste it on top of there. So we can just easily clone that one out. This one, I think would still not be that difficult to get out. That should be pretty easy. Now this one here though, that one is going to be much harder. So this one would be really difficult to get rid of. I'm not sure. There's one here as well. You can see it. It's pretty much a rainy day. One there as well. Those will be very hard to remove. So we might just have to deal with it. I would definitely remove this one though, because that one is too much in your face. This one, yeah, that one has to be removed as well, because it's pretty much in the center of the image. Like, there's one right here at the top. I don't really mind that one. This one is a little bit annoying as well, because it has the blue around it. So that's just a little tip. If you oh yeah, sure, I can turn the chat on. Like that. And let me turn this back into full screen mode. Like so. So that's one thing to keep in mind. When you're shooting in the rain, take a piece of cloth with you that you can use to wipe your lens down every now and then. Because when I was looking back at these photos, pretty much all the shots from here on have that same drop. See? So they all have it, and you don't really see this on the back of your camera. Like these drops, especially when you're outside and you have to deal with the light. It's really, first of all, it's really difficult to see what's on your LCD screen of your camera, let alone actually, you know, check for stuff like that. It's very, very difficult to see that on your camera. So I would always advise you, at least that's a lesson I learned today, take a piece of cloth with you and actually check the front of your lens every time when you shoot a photo. So every like 4 or 5 photos, just check the front of the lens to see if there's any water drops on them, and if they are, just wipe them off, because I forgot that today and I regret that now. Like, I would love to actually have these shots without the water drops, but you know, it's not too bad. I can still go back here. It's not like the place is going anywhere. I actually like this one. I also need to clean my sensor. I mean, just look at it. We've got some, I'm not even sure what that is. Looks like a hair or something. Yeah, I really need to clean my sensor. This image is pretty damn sharp though. Let's quickly edit this one. So on this one, I probably want to take this lamp out. So I want to remove that. And I want to take the hair out. That's one thing that's for sure. Let's start by enabling my profile corrections. This was shot on the 24-35 as well. So that lens is very sharp, as you can see. It's pretty much tack sharp. It's a really nice lens. See, I can raise the shadows here a lot, but I don't really want to. I think I like that bottom to be pretty dark. I do want to bring the highlights down, which is going to reveal a lot of the detail in the clouds. And you can see I've got a little bit of a circle right here. That's dust on my lens. Or on the mirror. Looks like it's dust on the lens. So let's just let's try and remove those. It's actually a really big dust spot. Never seen them that big. But that takes care of it. And let's do the same here. Let's just get rid of that. I can see a small one up here. Let's just get rid of that as well. Might want to zoom in now. UFO. Yeah. I want to zoom in now probably so that we can get a bit more of an up-close look. This right here, that was probably a water drop. That smudge. Might want to see if we can fix that in Photoshop. Now I'm just gonna look around and see if there's any more dust spots. Like I can see one right here. I'm gonna get myself a sensor cleaning kit, and I'm gonna clean my sensor upcoming week, because it's really a pain in the ass to have to go through all of your images and just removing these spots. So there's one over here again. Just gonna get rid of that. And there's clearly one right here at the corner, which is quite of a pain in the ass. But I think in Photoshop we can fix that. I see one more right here. One more right there. And we would have to bring this photo into Photoshop to begin with to get rid of the lamp. I think Photoshop will do a better job at that, so. I think that's all of them, except for then the big one right there and the little smudge right there. But that's pretty much all of them. So that already cleaned up the image quite a bit. There's another one right here, a water drop on the lens. Actually, those big ones, those are water drops, and the smaller ones are dust spots. So those bigger smudges, like the one right here and the one right here, those are actually the result of water drops on the lens. So that might be something to keep in mind when you're shooting. Now I want to try and correct this perspective, so I'm gonna do a level. No. Let's do guided, so that I can actually draw a line right across here, because this should be straight. So I'm just gonna create a line right there, and then I can create a line here as well along the top of the building. So just gonna align that as good as I can. And I'm just gonna drag this across towards there. And when I let it go, it's gonna straighten this out. So now this is perfectly straight. So now let's see. I want to add quite a bit of contrast to this. I really want this bottom to be quite dark. I really like that on this photo. Might want to bring the shadows up a bit so it doesn't become too dark. I like that these, basically the bottom parts are almost completely black, but we still have the detail right here. Whereas right here we could actually get rid of that detail completely if we want, but I do want to keep a little bit in there, especially because I'll probably add a vignette in the end, so that will make that a bit darker as well. Whites, we might be able to go up pretty high on the whites here, make that pop very nicely. Blacks, I'm actually gonna raise the blacks a little bit. Clarity, not too much, just a little bit of clarity. And you can see that it already made these blues stand out a lot, which is pretty nice. I do like a little bit of the detail that we still have in the sky. So let's load up. Let's load up this one, and let's start by bringing up the shadows a bit here. Yeah, let's decrease the blacks here. So we're actually clipping the blacks a lot, but then we're using the tone curve to bring them back up. And we don't have any detail there anymore, but I don't really care. I think it looks nice like this. And I can try bringing the highlights down. No, the edge of the building here is not curved. It's pretty straight. I'm actually going to leave the white point. HSL. Now here we could probably play around with these colors a bit. And we can try and increase the blues here. So we're really taking that blue and bringing it more up front. And I'm gonna decrease the yellows and the oranges, which are mostly in here. So we're really going for a more desaturated look on this one, except for the blues. Let's take the greens down. Now we can actually back the blues down a bit because they're a little bit too strong. I think that looks pretty nice. I'm actually going to bring the vibrance down a bit as well, and then we can probably bring the blues back a bit. So that's just going to decrease the overall saturation. Now vibrance is a little bit different than your normal saturation. Saturation will decrease every color with the exact same amount, where vibrance will decrease the warmer colors less than the cooler colors. So with vibrance, when you take it down, it will remove most of your colors except for pretty much all the warmer colors. So yellow, reds and oranges will stay in your photo. They will also be decreased, but less than the cooler colors. And saturation just takes care of all the colors in the exact same amount. So when you use saturation, it's just going to decrease the colors. So when you bring that down, it's just going to turn into a black and white. Actually, this photo looks pretty cool in black and white. Actually, this looks pretty cool. If I would go into black and white, I would go for an even more high contrast look and probably bring those highlights in and completely clip the highlights so you get that. Actually, this looks pretty damn nice, to be honest. And then go into the tone curve and just slightly crush those highlights as well so that they're not completely white. Actually, this looks pretty damn dope. Now if I bring a little bit of that blue back, I mean, we lose all the detail of the clouds, but I actually think it makes for a much more, a much cleaner image, actually. Plus, we don't have to deal with that water drop right here. With that water drop, well, there's still a little bit here, but it's nobody's gonna notice that. And we only have to deal with that smudge right here. So this might actually be a good thing to do. Yeah, and I quite like that little glow effect that we get here as well. I think it looks pretty cool. It just makes the image cleaner, I would say. I think that this look, by the way, is a really good look for city shots. It just gives the shots a really high contrasty look. Might want to check if you want to add something to the highlights. I think in this shot it would be better to add a color to the shadows and leave the highlights white. I think I actually like that little bit of blue in the shadows. Don't want to do too much, like you can go very far with this, I don't want to do that. Maybe a teal color. And just back that down quite a bit. So let's go into the detail. I am gonna sharpen this, but only the edges, so just do that. Noise reduction. There's not really much noise in this photo, so we don't really have to do any noise reduction here. Effects. Yeah, I don't think we need a vignette on this photo actually. I think this photo is fine without a vignette. I do want to try and take out this lamp. So we will try that in a bit. Let's see what this does. So we can change the blue on the building to a more teal color. I mean, that's really subtle. It's not even needed. It's so subtle. I want to see if we can actually remove this lamp with Lightroom. Let's see if Lightroom does a good job at it. Actually, it did a really good job of that. So I'm thinking if we want to have it with or without the lamp, somehow it kind of adds something to the photo as well. Although it looks cleaner without. Let me know, what do you guys think? Should I keep the lamp in or not? While we're waiting for you guys to tell me what to do, I actually like it with, to be honest. Although it looks cleaner without. Let me try and open this in Photoshop. Because we have to take care of that little smudge anyway, so I'm just going to open that in Photoshop. Let's see if we can fix that little smudge. Yeah, without the lamp, yeah, I think without would be better. It would be cleaner though. Like it would be nice if that lamp could be used if there was a little bit more of it. I think if you could actually see the post that it was standing on, I think it would add a little bit more to it. Right now it just looks like this lamp is just sticking out here out of nowhere, and I don't think that's a good thing. So yeah, we'll probably get rid of it. But I want to try and fix this one first. That little dark smudge right there. That's actually a dust spot on my sensor. or a water drop, one of the two. I think it's a dust spot, I'm not sure. Let's see if we can fix that. We've got the patch tool. And with that, I should be able to drag a rough selection around here. And then I should be able to do this. Now, as you can see, because we're dealing with perspective, it will not align. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna copy a section. So we have the lasso tool here. I'm just gonna take the lasso tool and I'm just gonna copy a section from here. Actually, let me make it a little bit bigger so that I know that we have enough to work with. I'm just gonna copy that and then I'm gonna paste it in place. Let's see. Paste in place so it's in exactly the same spot. It's on a new layer as well. And now we can move that section to where it needs to be. So I'm just gonna align the bottom line here. So that bottom line is now aligned. I'm gonna bring the opacity down. And now I wanna hit Control T. And I wanna try and make this so that it fits. So let's see. We should start by at least first shrinking this down. So I'm gonna put this right here so that that line is gonna stay in place. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, that works. So now I'm just looking at those lines. I'm just trying to align them. That looks pretty good. It's not completely right here. You can see it's a little bit off. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring this down a bit. That looks a bit better. This one is gonna go slightly there. I would say that's pretty good. Like, we have to take into account the actual lines on the roof here as well. They're not really properly aligned right now, so maybe I have to do some pretty... Let's see. I should be taking this one and dragging this out quite a bit. And then this one needs to... Yeah, that's not gonna work. I don't think I mind those lines. It's not really gonna... Like, you're not gonna see that anyway. I mean... Like, it's very subtle, you know? There's a little bit of a pattern in this building. Right here, you can see those little lines, right? And you can see that they just go in these lines across this side of the building. And right here where we took this other part, it doesn't perfectly align. Yeah, it simply does not perfectly align. See, these lines should be going right here, but then they're kind of like boom, and just going slightly a different direction, but you don't really see that. I'm gonna give it a slight color overlay so that I can take my eraser tool. I can take my eraser tool, make it a lot smaller. 100% opacity. I'm just gonna go around these edges so that they're not gonna be such sharp edges. I just want that edge to be blurry enough so that you don't really see it. And see, we're now also covering quite a big part, a lot bigger than what it should be, so I can actually do this and take the eraser and just erase as much as possible from this, so that we are literally only covering that little smudge. So now we see even less of the effect. I mean, that's pretty much as good as it gets. And it's such a small detail that you're not gonna see that anyway. So I would say that's pretty good. Now, yeah, the lamp. The lamp should be gone as well. So let's just draw around the lamp like so. Let's just do a Control F5 or Shift F5, which brings up the fill dialog, and I select Content Aware and just do bam. Lamp is gone. So I would say this is a pretty nice image. It's a nice, clean image. A little bit different than what I normally make. Most of my images are very high detail. This one is a very clean looking image, and I really like that. So I'm gonna save this one. Go back into Lightroom. This is the saved version, so I'm gonna flag that. So, we can do probably one more photo. Let's see, what else do I have? Looks like the water drops right here are gone. Got some people in my shot. No water drops though, so that's good. Here we have a water drop again. But it's not too bad in this shot. Although the shot is not sharp. Well, that one is. This one is probably sharper. No, it's not. That one is pretty damn sharp. Let's see if we can... Let me copy the settings of this one. Actually, let me just create a preset. What should I call this? High contrast blue or teal? High contrast teal. And yeah, I'm just gonna keep all of these settings, probably. Did we crop this image? Let me check. No, we did not crop it, so we don't have to worry about that. Let's save this as a preset. High contrast teal. Yeah, I just want to keep all these settings, probably. Except for the transform. We don't want to keep the transform because the transform depends on the image, so we don't want to do that. We haven't done any graduated filters or radial filters on this one. We haven't done any other stuff. Oh yeah, we took out all the lens, the dust spots. Let's see, we should be able to turn that off as well. I think, at least. Split toning. Actually, no. Okay, well then we're just gonna create this preset. So now I have a preset called High Contrast and Teal. And I can go to one of these images and I can try how this looks on this particular image. Not as good as the other one. Not as good as the other one. Maybe if we boost the exposure. It's becoming a little bit better. But it's not as good as the other one. I like the other shot more. So we can do another photo, guys. Damn, those are bright. And those are really dark. I swear to you guys, this old man was drunk as fuck. I swear to you. I was following this old man around. He was walking really slowly, so that made it easy to photograph him. But that old man was walking around, and I swear to you, he literally fell over about 3 or 4 times while I was following him around. I didn't really get the shot that I wanted. But it was a little bit of something that I was trying. But I swear you, the man was drunk. I'm not kidding. I followed him around, and he was just going from left to right, and he was crossing his feet and stuff like that. And I was like, what is this old man doing? And he would be standing like, he would hold himself because he would almost fall over. And I was like, I don't think you are, I think you are drunk. So I have this one as well, and I really like this one with the sides of the building here, although I don't like that this is completely black. Let's see what this preset will do to this image. So I also have a brighter version where we actually can see a bit of that. It's not completely white over there, so actually I think this looks pretty good as well. So let's straighten this out. Drop a line right there. And we can drop a line right here along the top of the building, because those 3 towers are exactly the same height. So that should straighten out the image perfectly. I really like this with the buildings on the side, actually. Gives it a little bit of a more interesting look than the other one, although the other one is very nice as well. This one is very clean looking. It's a little bit more towards the building itself, facing more straight up, whereas the other one I moved a little bit to the back into a street, and I'm actually looking up a little bit more at an angle, and I do like it. So blue glass, reddish bricks. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Are we using the split toning here? Yeah, I'm using the split toning here. So the split toning is creating the blue in the shadow. So if I turn this off, we kind of like get rid of it. That pretty much already does the job. I can increase the brightness here so that we get a little bit more of that. I do quite like that. But I might want to do it selectively, because it's also bringing up the brightness on the building in the center, which I don't want. I like that high contrast look. I like that it's completely black right here in between the 2 towers, whereas right here we get too much detail there. See? I do like what it's doing to the building on the right and the left, but I don't like what it's doing on the building in the center. So I'm gonna keep this pretty far down actually on the shadows, and I'm just gonna take my adjustment brush. I'm just gonna bring the shadows up a bit here, and let's bump the exposure about 1/4 of a stop, and let's just paint here. So I'm just gonna paint. I gotta be a little bit careful on the edges here. Just gonna paint slightly across like that. Just making that side building a little bit brighter. Now I'm going to do the same thing over here. And the greatest about this is that we can actually apply this selectively. So I don't like this top part of the building becoming any brighter. I think this is bright enough, but this bottom part should definitely be a bit brighter. So now we can just selectively just only make this part brighter while leaving the top here pretty much intact. So that already did a pretty good job. Now let's see, I'm probably removing quite a bit of color. So I want to try and bring in a little bit more orange here. That actually brought out a lot of the wood here, which is really nice. That contrast between the wood and the building. That's definitely great. You can add a bit of yellow as well. And the red will... the red doesn't really do much, so we're gonna keep that down. Now I'm gonna go into the adjustment brush again, and I'm gonna see if we can get more brightness out of the building here. So yeah, see, that really makes a big change. And I really like what this is doing. And we can even add a bit more orange here if we want, but I don't want to do too much because you can see it actually, you can see the edge around the building is also starting to change color. Right now you don't really see that we've gone slightly over the edge. If I take the eraser, we can, you know, we can fix it. We can go in, zoom in a bit, and, you know, maybe zoom in a bit more, 1/2, and just take that eraser and just go along this edge, just to make sure we're not brightening up the building too much. Same thing here. Just want to go and make that a bit better so that it's not making the building too much brighter. So that's pretty good. Now in the HSL tab I can go into the U part here, and I can try making these a little bit warmer in terms of color. So it's mainly going to be the orange. Yeah, see the orange, we can make that a little bit redder. I'm going to make the yellows a bit more orange, so that will mostly affect the stripes on the building on the right side. As you can see, we're going from yellow to a more orangey color. I want to bring those a little bit more towards the color of the brick to make it look a little bit more uniform. It's not really much green in here. Might want to go a little bit more into the teal side here. I think that looks nice. Just a slight little bit. And the luminance tab, we might be able to brighten up the building a bit more. Or darken it down. Almost no green in this image to begin with. Yeah, I'm gonna make these aquas a little bit darker so we get a little bit more detail in the building. Same for the blues, just bringing those down a little bit. So, I mean, this already looks like a pretty good image. I mean, this is what it was, and this is what it has become. So that's much better. That's much better. A lot. Split toning. I'm actually gonna take that out. I don't want to do any split toning on this one. Sharpening, let's check the sharpening. Looks about right. Just want to sharpen all those edges. Yeah, I want to try out a little bit of a vignette on this image. Let's go into the effects section here. And let's just make a pretty heavy vignette. I always go pretty much too far on the vignette first, so that I can see where my vignette is and how it looks. So I'm gonna make this one about that, I think. And I want to bring the highlight slider up all the way, so it's not going to darken the actual sky, it's only going to darken the building. And now I want to bring that amount back, so I just want to add a little bit, so it's just going to make the side here a little bit darker. And I might want to do another graduated filter here with a little bit of the exposure down on the bottom here. Just so we focus in on the building itself. Same thing here, I might want to do a little bit more here, just to darken those sides a little bit. I actually quite like that. And I want to try one more thing, and that is what happens if we put a little bit of a highlight here at the top. So it's actually gonna give us a little bit of a lighting effect on these two side buildings. I actually quite like that, so yeah, I think I'm happy with this image actually. It's looking pretty good. So we can do maybe one more photo. We might be able to do one more photo. Oh wait, I should probably flag this one so that I know that is a good image. Yeah, like I said, we can probably do one more shot. This is actually pretty cool. The bridge was open. I was I was actually walking over this bridge. I was coming from here, from the other side of the bridge, and I was walking here, and I was walking, and right before I was crossing this, what is that called? It's one of those things that goes down when the road is gonna close. When the bridge opens, that thing will come down. I forgot what that's actually called. But I was walking there, and suddenly those two things on both sides were going down, and I was still walking in between them, and I was like, what's going on? Why are those things going down? And then I was just looking like, is the bridge gonna open? And I assumed that this part of the bridge would open. So I was like, because actually there's multiple parts in this bridge that can open up, but I was like, this part is gonna open where I'm standing on right now. And I was just looking at here, and suddenly I saw this little a sign right there, and that sign told me I was on the wrong side of this pole that was going down. So I was like, what? So I just seriously made a run for it, and right after I passed underneath this thing, the bridge started going up. So I'm not sure if the guy who controls the bridge was just waiting for me, or if he haven't even, I don't even think he saw me, because normally they simply wait with closing the second one until everybody is gone. But now he was just closing the whole thing down. So yeah, you would probably have to jump in the water, but don't get me wrong, that's a pretty big jump. Like, that's a pretty big jump. Especially because I was all the way at the other side of the bridge, where it's a little bit higher as well, so. Again, the rainy water drops. Shooting in the rain can be a really difficult task. Oh, and I laughed so hard when I saw this. The drunk guy was crossing and he fell in. Well, maybe. Maybe. So I'm just looking to see what other shots I've shot today. This is actually the same one. We might be able to edit some of those. See, that one is really nice. Like, I shot this one, and I was like, it misses something. Like, it's a nice image, it's a nice building, but it misses something. And then suddenly, those two people walk by. And that just makes the image so much better. Like, this was shot on my Samyang, so I should loading the profile myself, but that just makes the image so much better with those people in there. And this is one of those shots where you probably want to go for a really high contrast look. You know, do something like that. Go for super high contrast, then bring that vibrance down quite a lot. And then do that same thing with the tone curve, where you do pretty much just raise the blacks here and lower those highlights a bit. Maybe even give it a slight S-curve. That's a really, you know, a look that you see a lot these days. A lot of people use this look. And it's a nice look. Obviously you would have to put in a little bit more work to make it look good, but you can pretty much do the same thing as what I did with the other shot just now. Where were we? Oh, here. Got a few other ones. The sun was actually coming through as well, so I've got a few that are actually shot directly into the sun, like this one. So that's overexposed right there, but it's not too bad. I actually think we can fix that. This one not. This is too overexposed. That's better though. Oh my god, I was walking around here and all the Dutch people will understand this, but I find that quite funny that they just put something like that on a building in my hometown. Chris probably understands. It's funny though. Let's see if we have anything more interesting here. I mean, that's the Netherlands for you there, right guys? All the bicycles. Get me that banana. No, it's actually a phrase that you say in the Netherlands. It's called gaan met die banaan. And gaan met die banaan, it literally translates go with the banana. Now you might be thinking, what does that even mean? Go with the banana? Like, what is that? It's actually a Dutch phrase that Dutch people would say. I think especially in Rotterdam. I'm not even sure if they say it in other parts of the country, but in Rotterdam they have this tendency to really make up you know, little phrases that a lot of people use. Like, all of the buildings in Rotterdam have a nickname as well. Like, all the buildings have an official name, but when you're walking around on the streets, when you're talking to other Rotterdam people, they will always use the nickname and not use the official name. And most of these nicknames are usually jokes as well. So we had, I think 2 years ago, they built a new bridge in the old red light district. So they made this bridge, and instead of and they gave it a really, you know, a really normal name. It's part of an area called the Rijnhaven, and they pretty much just called it the Rijnhaven Bridge. But everybody else is calling it basically well, it's called the Hoerenloper, which is because it's the old red light district, and it basically means somebody. The nickname is basically the nickname means somebody who goes to the red light district. Basically, a nickname for somebody like that, and that is the nickname that they gave to the bridge, because the bridge is located at the place where the red light district used to be. So, you know, it's fun. They always give these buildings these nicknames, and this phrase, gaan met die banaan, it basically just means, let's go. That's basically what it means. Let's go, or go for it, or, you know, something along those lines. It's just an interesting way of saying it, because literally it would translate to English like, go with that banana. Which makes no fucking sense. I would assume that foreigners who come to Rotterdam would be thinking like, what do they mean? Why is that on there, you know? But it's fun. So I got some shots. I like the one with the lady in here. It just adds a little bit more to this shot, you know? Yeah, I think it's just a little bit better with that lady in there. Just adds a bit to it. The Warren Looker. And all those bikes. That's just classic Netherlands right there. Bikes upon bikes upon bikes. So, yeah, what should we do? I definitely want to go back here during the night sometime. I think that'll look nice with all the lights turned on here. Let's do a night shot then. Let's do a night shot. I got some shots here. Let me... let me do... that. Should go into the library. Let's see, where is it? So I'm just gonna reset the settings because I already edited a lot of these shots. I'm just gonna reset them so that we can start over. So let's just wait for that to finish. That's finished. Yeah, so let's edit a night shot. Just gonna go to full screen. So I've got a lot of shots right here. Some of these are not really good. Some of them might be a little bit better. Not a big fan of this shot. It's not really interesting. These were pretty much the first few shots. So here I'm setting up my camera. Not really interesting. Just looking around. Most of these shots are very dark. I actually had to shoot very dark on this night. I was not using a tripod. I was shooting on my 60 without a tripod, and I was shooting on a really high ISO. So this is shot at ISO 3200. So I would say for ISO 3200 that the amount of noise is fairly low. I would normally expect a lot more noise to come in with such a high ISO. But I was able to actually shoot an ISO 3200 and get this amount of noise, which is fairly low. So let's just look for a nice image to do. I like the lady with the umbrella. I just wished she was a little bit more up front, and I wish the light was hitting her umbrella, or I should have been right around here. Like if I would be walking right around here, I would have been able to shoot her with the umbrella and hopefully with that sign. But I was a little bit too far back. But we can try maybe this image. Got a few other ones. Let's see which one is going to be nice to edit. So here I was in a pretty grimy looking part of the city. Although I think this looks really nice though. It was all a dream. So I really love the colors on the street during the night. Although I find shooting in the city is really difficult. It's really difficult to find the right composition because everything is so... There's so much going on. Like when you're walking around in the city, there's too much going on actually to find compositions easily. So it's really quite a difficult task. And at night, it's becoming even harder because you're dealing with this really low amount of light. So it's definitely difficult to shoot photos at night. Especially because you're always dealing with these very low light situations. But, you know, it's not too bad. Let's go into this folder actually. You've been in that part of Rotterdam. Which part? Here? Where it was all a dream? Like most of these shots are even way too dark. I probably wouldn't even be able to use these. Here I was trying to shoot this area, but it's completely out of focus. Where are the good shots? Oh yeah. I should probably edit this one. I edited this one earlier this week already. And it turned out really nice. So let me just edit this one for you guys. So I'm going to close this bottom panel down so we can see this a little bit bigger. Now you might be looking at this image. No, with that bridge over the road. Not sure which one that is, but oh yeah, I know which one you mean. That bridge is actually closed right now. You're not able to go on top of it at the moment because they're doing something to it. Looks like they completely demolished a part of it, but I don't think they're actually going to get rid of it because it's not even that old yet. So I wonder what they're going to do. But right now, that a part of that bridge is actually torn down. I was still able to get on top the part that actually goes across the road, so I could still make that shot. But I think they're actually going to do something there. I'm not sure what though. So this shot right here, you might be looking at it and you might be thinking, this is not a good photo. Like, this is not something that you could use, right? Well, actually, you would be surprised. This shot we can actually turn into something pretty good. It looks very dark in the front of the image, which I'm not going to say is wrong. It's actually what is going on here. So I'm going to start by enabling my profile correction. And I'm also going to remove any chromatic aberration. Now, next up, I'm going to go into the basic tab and I'm going to raise the shadows up all the way. And let's reduce the highlights all the way. And that already gives us a little bit more detail in the foreground here. But we can still see it's very dark. Now, I'm going to brighten this up quite a bit. And you can see we get a lot of noise here. Like a lot of noise. And you can see this purple color here. We can still use this image. We can fix this. So I'm going to go in here and instead of taking all the vignetting out, I'm actually going to leave the vignetting in the image. So I'm not going to do too much with that. I'm actually going to leave that. And I want to bring the white balance. I'm going to take that a little bit down towards the blue side. And I'm going to add a little bit of magenta here. So we're just giving it a little bit more of a nighttime color. Whites, I'm going to bring those down a bit so we can control this harsh light here. Just make that a little bit less bright. Now for the blacks, I want to raise the blacks maybe a little bit. Not too much though, because we already have a lot of noise that we have to fix here. And see, you know, with noise, I like my images to be as noise free as possible. But in certain conditions, you just have to crank up your ISO. You just have to crank that ISO to be able to get that shot. And I would much rather have a noisy shot than have no shot at all. So sometimes it's just better to crank up your ISO, especially with this shot. Like with these people walking there. There's only a split second that you have the chance to create this shot. And 1 second later, these people are way too far on this bridge. And they'll be way too far into the distance to actually be a subject. So having that ISO up is definitely good when you're shooting at night, because then you can still shoot some of these images that otherwise you would simply miss. So, but it is very noisy right now, so we have to do something to it. But I think we can still work with this. So, clarity, I can bring it up a little bit. I don't want to bring it up too much, so let's just do that. Vibrance, let's leave that alone for now. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to load up my clip control presets so that we don't get any clip shadows. And then I'm going to go into the camera calibration and I'm going to see if I can change the colors of it. So, because this shot is pretty noisy, I want to try and make this shot look very interesting in terms of color. So I'm going to bring those blues down, and as you can see, that separates the blues from the reds, which is quite nice. If I bring the green slider up, you can see we actually get more of that effect. So it actually separates it even further. And when we use this slider, we can change between orange and pink. I'm actually going to leave this one relatively in the center here. I might want to bring this one slightly to the right. And now when we go into the basic tab, the white balance is now actually gonna affect that look that we had, so I can play around with that. And if I go to the right on the magenta here, we actually get more blue. So then I can bring more red back in. So that's interesting. I'm gonna back it all down a bit. I'm gonna make it a lot darker. I'm not too sure. I added this one earlier, and then I had it took me quite a bit of time actually. Took me quite a bit of time to get this shot right. But let's see. Okay, so if we bring the purples down to the blue side, we're actually getting rid of the red in the bridge right here, and we're also getting rid of most of the red on the side of the building. So if you can see right here, that red is also on the side of the building, and on the road right here we got a little bit of a smudge on that road, on that bridge. If I just bring that all the way down, we can kind of like get rid of that, which is nice. Same thing for this one. But it's also affecting the building, and I don't want that, so I'm going to leave it like that. Saturation, I want to keep the red color. I want to decrease most of the other colors probably. I'm actually going to increase the blues a little bit. Not too much, just a little bit. And yeah, purple can stay pretty much the same as well for the magenta. Let's just leave those two. It's a little bit better now, but it's still not good enough. I wouldn't call this a good shot. Like, it's better than what it was, but it's not good yet. Let's go into the split toning. I probably want to add some red to the highlights. Red, maybe a little bit of pink. Yeah, actually red looks nice. I'm just gonna add a little bit of red to all the highlights. And I might want to add something to the shadows as well. So I think I'm gonna go for a nice and teal color or blue. Actually, teal looks pretty nice. I'm just gonna add a little bit of that to the shadows. Now for the detail. Now we can actually start getting rid of some of the noise. So I'm first gonna increase my mask here so that we apply sharpening only to the edges. And now I want to see if we can remove well, at least remove a bit of this noise, because it's quite noisy. So let's move this up to 20. See how much noise we've removed just now. I mean, this is before and that's after. So we're removing a lot of the color noise. We're actually leaving most of the contrast noise in, which is fine. You know, the contrast noise is actually more like film grain. That color noise, so that red, all those red dots right here, that color noise is what's really annoying, and that's definitely what you want to take out. See all those red dots? If we turn this on, bam, it just makes it so much cleaner. And I don't mind that little bit of noise in here, because if we look at the full image, you don't really see it that well. I think this looks pretty good, actually. Lens corrections, we've already done that. Transform, I want to transform this so that the vertical lines are vertical, and it doesn't really do a good job. So I'm gonna do this manually. I'm just gonna look at the grid. I'm just gonna look, and I'm just gonna see what I need to do. So I need to make this a little bit like so, and we need to rotate this ever so slightly. Now the thing is, that building on the left side is actually not straight. So that building is slightly angled on the side here. So it might look a little bit crooked still, but this is about as straight as I will be able to get this. That building simply is not straight. So this wall is just slightly hanging over on the building. That's just how they built the whole fucking thing. So yeah, you just probably have to deal with that. Now I also want to crop this, because if I post this on Instagram, what is it, 4:5 I think. Yeah, if I'm right, the maximum image ratio on Instagram is 4:5, so I should be able to crop it like that. Gives me a bit more of an interesting image. Let's see, the other one would be 2:3. I think that's actually the original image ratio. Let's see. Yeah, so the original image ratio is 2:3, but Instagram accepts 4:5, so I'm just gonna crop this to 4:5. Yo, welcome Chillax, welcome to the stream. We're doing something different today. We're doing some photo editing. So I might want to go into the camera calibration again here and just see if we can spice this up a bit. I like the more pinkish color here though. I don't want to make it too bright. I want to try and get rid of some of that purple here. So I want to take an adjustment brush and let's bring this a little bit towards the blue side and just paint a little bit here, so we can just get rid of that purple. Just makes it a bit better, I think. Same here. It's a little bit of purple in the water that I don't want, so just get rid of that. And I want to add a little bit of red right here. See where the underside of this building, the bottom of this building, is being lit up. So it looks red right here, but that one single part looks, well, blue. So I want to try and fix that. Now, I think if we add a little bit of a warm tone here, yeah, see, so that does the job. I'm just doing it about that, and then I'm gonna go in with the eraser, and let's zoom in. And I'm gonna keep my flow, let's do flow at 100 first and do the edges first. Just gonna remove that. I have to be pretty precise on this one. Same thing up here. Just go along that edge. And then I want to bring my flow down to about 50%, 45, something like that. And then I want to increase the size a bit, and then I want to make this edge a little bit less red. So it's a little bit more of a fade. That should make it look a little bit more natural, I hope. Like, I mean, this image doesn't even look natural to begin with, so... Not sure. Not sure. I don't think I want to have it right here. Yeah, I think that looks better. I mean, it's not too bad. Let's see if we bring the reds down a bit, because the reds become a little bit too much. Maybe I want to do that selectively, so I can also try adding a little bit of magenta here. Actually, I'm just gonna leave it at about here. And let's try just adding a little bit of a red here. Actually, no, let's not do that, because it's only gonna strengthen the red. I still think this area could be a little bit more red. Just that area where the light is. Pretty much that. So that looks about nice. Now what I want to do is I want to try and decrease the saturation a little bit on these reds. So I'm going to bring the saturation down. I'm just going to paint slightly on top of here, just so I can reduce those reds a little bit, because they become a little bit too much. Now this is too much, so I'm just going to bring it back a little bit. I think that looks about right. Now, I want to add some light to certain parts, so I'm gonna take plus exposure here. I'm just gonna add a little bit of light to these people, just to brighten them up a bit. I can also take the shadows and bring those down a bit, so that we can keep those people nice and black, but increase the road here a bit, so that that becomes a little bit more up front. I might want to add some light right here in the background as well. So I can take the same thing here. So I'm just going to do that again. But now I'm going to increase my color temperature to bring some more red into that area as well. Just adds a little bit more red over there. I might want to go in here with the brush and just quickly just erase it a little bit from these people, because I can see that the jackets of these people become a little bit purple, which is not what I want. So that looks about right. Maybe increase the clarity a bit, which will make the lights pop. We could increase the highlights a bit. I'm also gonna try and increase the light here. So let's do this. Put it right around there. Maybe try using the dehaze, just to get a little bit of a hazy look around that light. Gonna add a little bit right there. Now I might wanna darken up the sky here in the top right. Maybe I just wanna make it darker on the side to begin with. Just a little bit. So I mean, if we look at the before and after, the difference is quite big. That's the before and after. The color of the guy has become red. Yeah, it does, but I don't mind, because there is light hitting his color, so I don't really care that that has become right. She seems to be having pink ears though. But you know, it's not really that big of a deal. Should be easy enough to fix. Just by taking the saturation down a bit and just gently brushing there. So he just takes care of it. You could do the same thing over here. I guess that's a bit better. I mean, it's not like I really care that much, to be honest. But I do like the shot, though. I do like the shot. Hey, could you make something with a Blade Runner vibe in it? Well, actually, this already is pretty much that. It's the same technique, pretty much. It's just, I'm using a red and blue combination here, but you could do pretty much anything. So, it kind of like looks a bit like that. See, I really want to go to Tokyo one day. Tokyo or some other Japanese city, or a Chinese city. Actually, I'm looking at this image, and I'm gonna try and make the bottom here quite a bit darker. So we're actually creating a bit of shadow right there. I really like what that is doing. Yeah. And then just create a slight bit of light here around their feet, so those are not darkened too much. Yeah, that looks nice. So yeah, I really I've been wanting to go to some kind of an Asian city. Tokyo would be very nice. Some city in China would also be nice. Reason for that is that they have these cities with these huge amount of advertisements everywhere. Like they have a lot of advertisements everywhere, and that actually creates a really interesting an interesting setting for these kind of shots, and especially the more Blade Runner cyberpunkish color corrections. Like those really shine in places with a lot of neon lights, with a lot of big LCD screens on the side of buildings, a lot of neon signs in storefronts and stuff like that. And we don't really have those here, not that much at least. There's a few, but usually it's just like there's only gonna be like one shop with a neon sign, and that's pretty much it for the entire street. So that is not really gonna work well for these types of images. Like this type of processing, this image is probably one of the few where I can actually pull it off and make it look pretty interesting. Whereas with most of these shots that I shot in Rotterdam, it's just not gonna give it that vibe, because the city just doesn't look like, you know, that. So yeah, I'm really thinking I really want to travel to probably Tokyo someday. Tokyo is absolutely, it's really high up on my list to go to shoot photos. I think it's going to be a great place to go to, and it will actually allow me to do a lot of these shots. Like Tokyo has a lot of these very gritty back alleys with a lot of neon signs and stuff like that, and they also just have a lot more people, you know, and somehow that just makes your shots interesting as well. I don't know. I really want to go there. Not just for these kind of shots though. I would love to just go to Tokyo. You know, also to shoot stuff like Mount Fuji, Mount Fuji, right? I'm not even sure. But I would love to go there. It would be absolutely great. And I have a love for these old temples. Those look really nice, and I would love to shoot one of these old temples in Japan during the night. I think a really dark shot with everything in blue tones, but then this temple would really look amazing, especially if I could find one that overlooks maybe a valley of some kind, or maybe even overlooks the city of Tokyo. That would be absolutely insane. I'm not sure if that's possible though, but I would love to try and go there. It's an expensive trip though, so it would definitely have to be at least 2 weeks. Anything less than that is just not worth it. And I've been looking into it. I've been looking into what would be a right thing to do. Most people who travel to Japan, usually they get this railroad card that allows you to travel through pretty much the entire country for about a full month. So you would be able to just travel through the entire country from north to south with the train using just that one card. You don't have to pay anything extra. You just get that card. It costs a couple of €100, and then you're allowed to just travel for, I think it's 30 days or something like that, and you can just travel as much as you want. I think there's also a 2-week card, and that's also nice. However, most people do that when they go to Japan. They just do this, trip through pretty much the entire country. But I was looking at it, and when you go to shoot photos, that is probably not the best thing to do, because you're going to be spending so much time on traveling. Like, I mean, yes, they have really high-speed trains over there, so it's nothing like the trains over here. They go very fast, but the distances are also bigger than what we have over here. So if you want to go from, like, Tokyo to Kyoto to just do a day trip, you're already going to be spending half of your day in the train. So if I'm going to go to Japan to shoot photos, I probably don't want to do that. So I was looking at a story of another photographer who is actually in Tokyo, and he travels from Tokyo to other places, and he actually gave the advice. He's like, it's much better to just focus on one particular part of Japan. So let's say you want to go to Tokyo, you want to have these gritty streets and these really interesting vibes. Yeah, absolutely. Altered Carbon, I've been watching that show earlier this week. I think I watched episode 6 or 7 now, so I'm almost done with the first season. Almost done with pretty much the season, and I really like it. And yeah, that look, that feeling that you get from that movie, similar with Blade Runner, but also anime shots like anime series like or movies like Ghost in the Shell. Great example of this same vibe, of these really, this cyberpunkish vibe. And yes, Tokyo is a great city for that. There's other cities in China that are really good for it as well. But I think I would rather travel to Japan. I don't know. Something about Japan is just, I don't know, it's just nice. And so yeah, but that other photographer, he told me, it was like, you can much better just come to Tokyo. Just book a flight, come to Tokyo, and just spend 2 weeks in Tokyo. You're gonna save yourself a couple of €100 for the train card, which you probably don't need. So instead you can just buy, well, what it's called, I think it's called the JJ card, and that's actually just a card for pretty much the subways in Tokyo and stuff like that. So it's a little bit cheaper, I think. It depends which card you buy. Like some cards are more expensive than others. But if you just stay in Tokyo and just use the public transport inside Tokyo, it's gonna be cheaper, and you're not gonna be spending your entire or half of your trip on actually traveling, by train. So I think that's better, because then you can just spend, I don't know, 2 full weeks just walking around Tokyo day and night, specifically in the night, and just shooting interesting shots for 2 weeks in a row, and just go back home and just have hundreds of photos to work with. I'm thinking about it, but it's definitely going to be an expensive one. But I would love to do it. And I mean, I've been comparing, because I was looking up cities that have a similar vibe. Hong Kong is a great example. Hong Kong is another one of those cities that has a really cyberpunkish vibe. Not as much anymore as it used to have, especially in the 80s. Hong Kong used to have this really crazy cyberpunk vibe, but since the 1980s they've been removing about 30,000 neon signs annually in Hong Kong. So that gives you an idea of how many neon signs they actually used to have. But they've been removing about 30,000 of these neon signs every year since the 80s, and they're still doing that for the coming 10 to 15 years until all the new neon signs have been removed. Reason for that is that the local government of Hong Kong has actually banned neon signs. So they're now removing all the neon signs, and those are actually being replaced by LED signs, which is still cool, it's still light, but neon light looks much better on photos than LED light. LED lights just look very harsh, and neon light has this warm, soft look to it. So, Hong Kong is definitely changing. So it's definitely, in 10 to 15 years from now, it's not going to look the same anymore. And it's not as good anymore as it used to be. Now, there's still areas in Hong Kong where you have a lot of neon signs, but I was looking up the flights, and the flights from here to Hong Kong or to any Chinese city actually showed up as being more expensive than a flight to Tokyo. So living though in Tokyo is a little bit more expensive, but I think if you go for like 2 weeks, I should be able to get like an Airbnb for 2 weeks or something, and that would be perfectly fine. And if not, I can just, you can sleep very cheaply in one of these capsule hotels where you just have a room that has one bed in it and one small space for your stuff, and you just hire the room for 6 to 9 hours, just enough time to sleep, and when you wake up, you just go outside again, and it's really cheap. So it shouldn't be too difficult. It shouldn't be too expensive. I mean, the flight itself is going to be the most expensive thing, pretty much. Bouncing back, I've watched the Blade Runner recently, and I fall in love with the sound design of the movie. Do you have any idea how it could be made? The very rumbling basses with the probably omnisphere texture. Those rumbling basses, those rumbling sounds, a lot of times it's actually just, sometimes it's just recordings, recordings of really, when you go to industrial sites or stuff like that, a harbor or industrial sites, there's usually things over there that you can record that have this low rumbling kind of sound. Then you take those samples and you can completely transform them into anything you want, and you can definitely use that to create these low kind of textures. But there's also countless of other things like Contact and Omnisphere that probably will get you very close to those sounds already without having to record anything. So but I guess for the movie itself, they've probably gone out to some kind of a location to just record some kind of sounds, maybe the sound of an electric humming kind of sound of a machine. You can use that and pitch it down an octave or 2 octaves and really get this low rumbling sub bass. So probably something like that they've done. Now, I think this is gonna be it for today, guys. It's almost 1 AM right here, and I have to stop right now because everybody's going to bed, and I'm gonna go to bed soon as well. So that was the second photo editing stream that we did. I'm probably gonna do more. I have so much more photos to edit. We literally we've only edited like probably 0.05% of all my photos right now. So I have so much more to do. I'm probably gonna do more in the future. I don't know when the next one will be, so just keep an eye on my Twitter, which is at ARTFXDNB. Just keep an eye on that, and I will keep you guys posted on there. Also, if you want to see more of my photographs, you can go to Instagram and just follow me on Instagram. I have 2 accounts on Instagram. One is for my music, which is ARTFXDNB. The other one is called @SinisterSuspect. So Sinister Suspect. That is my name as a photographer. That is basically my photography project. I'm working on a website for that, so I'm actually going to be working on a website where I'm going to be showcasing a lot of my photos, but until then you can simply use my Instagram and follow me on there. So if you want to see more of my photography, or if you want to, show me some of your photography, just hit me up on Instagram and show me your work. I would love to see your stuff. If you have any questions about anything, then feel free to ask them. all your questions, you can ask them either on Twitter, or the best place to ask your questions would be in my Discord server. So you can find the invite to the Discord server underneath this stream. It's mostly a music production Discord server, but we do also have a section for photography. So if you want to be part of that, if you want to join in and just, you know, be there for sharing some of your photos, that's fine as well. Although, keep in mind, it is mostly a music production server, but we simply have a few people in there that do photography, so I just wanted to have a little bit of a photography section on there as well. So that's it for today, and I hope to see you back soon. I'm gonna be streaming music production again next Friday, 8 p.m. Central European Time. That's my usual streaming schedule. So every Friday at 8 p.m. Central European Time, we do a music production live stream. I'm gonna be doing one upcoming Friday. I don't know what about yet, so if you have any ideas, then let me know on my social media, so I can keep that in mind. I do have quite a few tracks I'm still working on, so I might want to work on those tracks and just try and finish them. But other than that, yeah, I quite enjoyed this one again. We did some pretty cool edits, especially this one. This one looks really nice. Although I edited this one already, I might wanna. I'm actually gonna compare this one to the one that I already edited to see which one I like more. I think this one looks better, but we'll see. Yeah. So that's it for today, and I hope to see you back next Friday. Peace.